I think I was walking around like, this is my lot in life. I'm stuck with it. I kind of thought like I've made the choices to have my life the way it is now, and it's never going to change. And now I just have to endure it. And what was so profound for me was realizing how much my childhood, the way that I was raised, the woundings that I experienced from my parents and from other, situations, like everyone does, the wounding experiences I had shaped my beliefs about everything. And it just started connecting so many dots and realizing like I don't have to continue doing life the way that my parents did. I found my power, and it was amazing. And I feel like I came home and was able to say, okay, what do I want to do with my life? It was like a complete relaunching of my life from that point on.
Welcome to the Crucible Project podcast. The Crucible Project is a nonprofit organization committed to creating a world of men and women who live with integrity, grace, and courage, helping them to fulfill their God-given purpose. This podcast will discuss important and sometimes difficult topics while delivering practical life applications with men and women who are currently practicing this work. We are igniting Christ-like change in men and women through experiences of radical honesty and grace.
Hello, my name is Nicole Dominguez, and I am with Lisa Majewski. We are going to hear her story and what her soul work journey looks like. So, Lisa?
Hey, Nicole.
So, just want to get started with asking you to tell us and share with us exactly how did Crucible come into play for you? And what is your story, the beforehand and the afterlife of Crucible? Share with us what all you have got out of it.
Sure. So my husband, Chris, and I have been married for 17 years. We got married in 2005, and we have 4 kids who are 13 and under. And my husband went on an initial weekend with the Crucible Project back in May of 2015. We'd heard of the organization for years from other friends who had gone through it and who were very involved. They were always talking about how it was so life-changing and how it just transformed their marriages and how they, get along with different people in their life and help them connect with God. And I think I always just thought, like, this is great for them, but I get this from my church, and I can get, I'm doing fine. I don't need something like that. I'm too busy. And so I didn't really think of it as something that I needed. In 2013, my kids were really little. I had a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn. And we just had some really hard times that year with our son broke his femur twice, and then had car problems, money problems, and just all kinds of stressors while trying to juggle, these little kids and starting a family. And in 2013, my husband and I both kind of just things just felt like they were breaking down, and like our old strategies for coping weren't working. We were both angry and not getting along well, and kind of, at least for me, it was like, I don't know how to do this. I feel like there's got to be something better. I've had a relationship with God my whole life. I've been a Christ follower. Like, my husband's a pastor, and I've always believed that there is life here on earth is meant to be filled with joy and communing with God and different than what I was experiencing. And I was like, there's something going on. I don't know if it's me or if it's just, my beliefs, but something felt really broken. And my husband was struggling with some of his own stuff. So he went to the Crucible Project weekend in May 2015, and he came back a changed person. Like, it was like a night and day difference. And so I was like, I want this. This is what I've been looking for. Like, what he seems to have is what I've been craving for myself. So I started doing some work with some other organizations to try and learn some of the same things. But when the Crucible Project started having weekends for women, I jumped right on board. I was like, there's something about this work that these men are doing that is so powerful, and I think women need this. I want this too for myself, and I didn't know where else to find it. So going to the Crucible Project weekend, I learned all about how to step into my own power. First, I discovered that I am a powerful person on my own, and I don't think I'd been believing that, right? I don't think I'd been believing that I have agency, I have options. I have choices. I think I was walking around like, this is my lot in life. I'm stuck with it. I kind of thought like, I've made the choices to have my life the way it is now, and it's never going to change. And now I just have to endure it. And what was so profound for me was realizing how much my childhood, the way that I was raised, the woundings that I experienced from my parents and from other, situations, like everyone does, the wounding experiences I had shaped my beliefs about everything. And it just started connecting so many dots and realizing like, I don't have to continue doing life the way that my parents did, or just acquiescing to what other people think I should do, or trying to guess what other people think I should do. I found my power, and it was amazing. And I feel like I came home and was able to say, okay, what do I want to do with my life? It was like a complete relaunching of my life from that point on.
So when I'm hearing you talk about your story, it sounds to me like you realized then and there that you didn't have to keep repeating the same behaviors that your family, generations prior to you, may have continued doing.
Yeah.
Every single generation.
Absolutely. Actually, I think I didn't even know that I was. I actually thought that I was doing something different, but the experiences on the weekend, the teachings, the different exercises helped me to realize where I was continuing the cycle, and that awareness helped me come up with options for how I want to do it different.
Now, when you were realizing this, did you ever consider, you think my husband has gone through this transformation? Did you think maybe it's my turn to go through a transformation just in watching him? Was that part of your transition to thinking, I need to go do soul work?
Absolutely. Yes. When watching my husband change and transform and be this powerful yet grace-filled person, I absolutely it was contagious. Like, I had his enthusiasm, his ability to be calm in stressful situations and ask questions and be open and curious was absolutely contagious. And I was like, I want this. I need this for myself.
Especially when you were dealing with a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, a newborn, car problems, money problems, marriage not communicating well. Like, I'm sure that was like something you were craving.
Absolutely.
So can you tell me just in this process, how you felt you craved it, yes. But what was your first action that you went after and said, this is what I'm going to do it?
So like, how did I get there?
Yeah. Like, how did you decide? Because, the devil hits you in so many different ways. Like, usually you sign up for a weekend and it's like, oh, I can't make it because this came up, or, oh, I can't do it because so-and-so needs me to be here. And you had little ones. Mm-hmm. So how did you decide to push all of that aside and say, I'm going to do this for me? Yeah. What got you to that point?
So honestly, what got me to the weekend was jealousy. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I saw that my husband and then other female friends were going to these retreats, and they had this friendship, this sisterhood, this brotherhood. And I had FOMO. I didn't want to be left out. I was craving connection. And I was home with little kids all the time, and I didn't really have an outlet that was just for me that was actually fulfilling. I had hobbies. I had lots of other things that I was doing to try and rest and stay in it as a mom. But there was something that my husband and his friends, and then the other women I knew who had been doing soul work in retreats and in groups and stuff, they just seemed like they were joyful. They seemed like they were able to freely talk about their emotions, and they seemed like they accepted themselves for who they were, like they were confident. And I pretty much latched onto that. I was like, I want that, and it doesn't really matter what it's going to take for me to get it, because that's what I need. I was so depressed and so like just disenfranchised with life the way it was. And my husband really supported me. So he knew that there was something I wanted, and so he took care of the kids so that I could go on my weekend. Now, what I will say is what was hard was actually getting there, because some of the behaviors that I was dealing with was like, I had a hard time being on time places. I've always struggled with some like staying on time, prioritizing, time management. I was really stressed about even getting there. How am I going to set the kids' stuff aside long enough to pack my stuff for a whole weekend away? So it was messy. I was grumpy. I was scared. I remember I was crying a lot. And somehow that vision of what I was wanting for myself, that, that spark of hope of what I would get if I got there, is what got me there in spite of all of the stress,
all the distractions.
Yeah. And even the negative stuff that I was dealing with that was coming up as a result of it. And now I know that's all a part of the process. It just brings up to the surface all of the stuff that's bubbling underneath, right? It brings it to a head. And that is actually what needed to happen for me to be able to be vulnerable and then accept that other people wouldn't reject me even when I showed up messy, that people would accept me and say, hey, it's okay. You're not alone. Me too.
Yeah, it's interesting how, we have all these emotions and we press them down, we press them down, we press them down, and we think, I can't let anybody see the real me. Like if they see me, they won't accept me or like me, or, I won't be a part of the group or included. And we have such a desire to be included that, we hide all those emotions from people when really we're all going through the same thing. And if we all take a step back and realize that, we're all normal, we're all crazy in our own way. And it's just a matter of us all being broken and realizing that brokenness is beautiful, and coming together and realizing that we have this soul work to pursue and go after, to really hone in on where our brokenness is and how we can make that beautiful and be able to share it with one another and create those friendships and relationships and really just walk alongside one another. I think it's so powerful. The Crucible journey, it's just extremely powerful for so many. So in doing your soul work, tell me all the dirty details to your initial weekend. Like, how was that for you? How were your emotions and just your experience? Because it is an experiential weekend. Yeah. So tell me all of it.
Oh, I don't think that I stopped crying for 48 hours. And that's not to scare everybody. It's what needed to happen for me. I needed a space to just let myself cry and let myself feel all of the pent up emotions and sadness and grief and disappointments that had been just sitting there unexpressed. And everybody's weekend looks different, I know. So I've certain people showed up different ways, but for me, it was just the space I needed to release. I have like this vivid memory of talking about my childhood pain. I'm a sexual abuse victim. I have been through really complex trauma from my childhood. And I shared a lot of that for the first time with the women at my weekend. And I have this picture in my mind of the face of one of my friends that was there as a staff person supporting me, and the compassion and love, but not pity. Like it was like, I'm very clear on what there was and what there wasn't. I was terrified of seeing pity and someone saying like, they're there, treating me like a child.
You wanted them to see you for who you were. Yeah, like you were there as an adult standing there.
I didn't want to be looked down on. But what I saw was like love, acceptance, but also someone who said, I am hearing what you went through and it was awful and I'm here with you. So like true presence, someone truly being present. And it wasn't just one person, but I have this picture in my mind of that. And it's like a picture for me of what the whole experience was like. It was, you've been through hard things. Life is going to continue to be hard, but you're not alone. And that feeling of not being alone was like the salve that I needed to be able to pick up and go back home and be the wife, the mother, the woman that I want to be, but was feeling like I just didn't have it in me to continue on.
Was that the moment that you realized your childhood had been haunting you, whether you liked it or not?
I think I had already known that, but I think I didn't realize that I didn't have to carry it alone. Again, that feeling of like, I
Yeah.
knew that I carried this huge burden of what I had been through, but I just thought it was my cross to bear, or my, I don't know if cross to bear is the right way to put it, but right, like, but it was like, this is what I've been given.
Right.
And
It was
yeah,
your
exactly.
weight.
It's what I had to take with me. And what I realized was like, no, that's not true. Yes, it is
Right.
my story, but that doesn't mean that I have to keep it a secret and not talk to people about it. That doesn't mean that I have to try to overcome it alone.
I also think that you coming forward with everything and just laying it all out, I think it helps you to understand what happened to you as a child doesn't define you either. You get to create your journey going forward and your chapters in your book. I know for me, when I went through Crucible, like it was amazing and powerful to me to realize I get to start this new chapter and tell the story exactly how I want to tell it, not from what I had been told or the weights that I'd carried, telling it at such a labored breathing because I'm carrying these heavy, heavy weights. I get to tell this story lighter and freer and realizing that it's my story. It's part of my journey. So now you've gone through the weekend, you've had this weight lifted off of you and realized that I can share my story and not have people pity me. Now you're going forward and you're taking all this home. How was your first, I'm walking through the door and I have these babies that I'm coming home to and my husband and, I'm exhausted because it is a lot of work. So tell me how that was for you, getting back into the real world.
I remember coming home and just having these overwhelming feelings of gratitude and love for my life, for my children, for my husband, and like a rejuvenation and feeling ready to take on whatever came next. And I also felt exhausted. And I felt like I was looking at the world through different eyes, or like I was standing in a different spot than where I had been before. And I had a different perspective, which was wonderful. And yet it was overwhelming. It was like a flood of, what do I address first? I started exercising some new muscles, like some, saying no, saying what I want, asking for what I want, having more opinions. But that came with pain also, because I was changing. I was changing how I was doing so many different things, and that I did it imperfectly. So it was kind of like relearning how to walk, but falling down a lot and falling on people, and tripping and stumbling and breaking things. So it was not a beautiful dance, but it was.
So let me ask you this. Do you feel like you had support from people, and what did that look like for you?
Absolutely. I had people say like, Lisa, you are like a different person, or what happened? Your face looks different. So I had affirmation from others that they saw a difference in me. I felt like I came alive after I went on my first soul work weekend. I became more and more alive the more I did, and the more I leaned into my soul work journey. And the support I got was from my husband, from my friends. I actually started inviting people to go also. And so my friends started to experience the same thing, and we had shared language. I surrounded myself with community and people that were going through similar learnings, people who were trying to break similar cycles, but also with talking to people who were further along in their journey. I realized how much I craved mentorship and wise women who had been where I'd been, older moms, grandmother figures, and even people who were had strengths in areas that were weaknesses, and found support in the areas that I was wanting to grow in, but didn't know how to get there.
That's exciting. Now, how many years are you forward? Like from your initial weekend, like how many years in are you?
It's been 7 years since my first soul work weekend.
And for Crucible, when did you first go on a weekend with Crucible?
I first went on a Crucible weekend in 2019, before the COVID pandemic.
And what did that look like for you? already starting the process of soul work and then going through Crucible, having a different take on it, what are the few key things that you got from it?
On my first Crucible weekend, I learned how to access my voice in a way that I hadn't before. I had already started working very intensely, done a lot of work around my childhood wounds, around healing that brokenness, that feeling that like I am just a broken mess. So I'd already started to like put that back together again and own my story, own where I'd come from. But when I went on my Crucible weekend, it really helped me to decide, what do I want the rest of my life to look like? It was more of, okay, now I'm an adult. I have my whole life ahead of me. What next? And how do I want to live? And I was able to really take stock of where are the areas of my life where I am in integrity with myself and the way God made me, and where am I trying to be someone else that I wasn't created to be? And where am I out of integrity with other people? I know that I made a lot of excuses, and I was a very defensive person. Like, I was insecure, first off, and out of that insecurity, I was really scared of other people pointing out flaws in me or speaking to things that I thought that were flaws or shortcomings. And so I was very defensive. I was good at like spinning or saying like, well, here's why I did what I did. And I want you to understand my thought process here. And I still do it. I'm still learning. But the Crucible weekend helped me to really stand up under, here's what I think, here's what I did, here's what I want to do next time, and think outside of the box, my box, think outside of the box that I was in about my character and, okay, what do I want to be known for? And really relaunch into the world with my voice.
Well, that sounds like it's extremely powerful and was powerful for you and for your future. Tell me, is there any last thoughts that we should consider, know, or even just hear about when it comes to Crucible and what it has to offer from your perspective?
I think the Crucible Project is an amazing vehicle for opportunities to grow in whatever area you need to grow in, whether it's going on an initial weekend, whether it's being in a group, or whether it's getting involved in stepping into leadership. The experiences are all designed to stretch you. It's amazing to me that I can have my own like unique makeup of things that like I need to work on, things that I need to heal from, etc. And my other sister, who's completely different than me, can also come and get something huge out of it. It truly is for everyone. No matter whether you have abuse in your background, whether you had the perfect childhood, whether your life looks perfect, all across the board. It is a spiritual formation organization. I think there's something for everyone.
It's powerful. Yes, I agree completely. I always tell people when they ask me about it, I say it's an experiential weekend. And your experience will be completely different from my experience because my background is completely different from your background. All you have to do is just sign up and go. And no matter what distractions get in the way, what hiccups happen, excuses that you can come up with, they're always going to be there. Just sign up and go. And in the end, you can speak for yourself. You can tell me then what you got out of it. I thank you for this opportunity to get to know you better, get to hear more about your story, who you are and where you come from. And I appreciate you taking the time to share with us.
For more information about our weekends, please go to thecrucibleproject.org. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Rate and review wherever you are listening and subscribe on your preferred podcast platform. Also, don't forget to check out myjourney2.com for your free 2-week trial. That's myjourneyto.com. Thank you for listening.